them have run a business or managed a business, and I think I'm the only one who has.
I have.
Oh, you have? Oh,
I
sorry.
manage the business currently.
Oh, sorry.
Small business.
Go get you.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So yeah, I run a art glass company, big art glass company here called Savoy Studios. We do, all sorts of projects all over the world for hotels, casinos, and restaurants. And I work with a lot of artists, so I take their ideas that are really complicated, and I have to, make them on time, on budget. And I've also started a software company for project management, and so I think I would bring a unique view to the council where I try to keep things on budget, financially, and I want to work with people, so I'm good at working with people. So anyway, thank you guys, and please check out Here for PDX. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. First, I want to thank Future Portland for hosting this event, as well as Hopworks for bringing us all out. My name is Larry Kelly. Thank you. My name is Larry Kelly. I live on the Hawthorne area, and I've been here for about 2 years. And I'm a chef by trade. I've spent 20 years in the industry, and something that the industry has taught me is that when the dishwasher breaks, your best server has the flu, and your order's late, you still got to serve the people, right? And it takes communication, collaboration, and problem solving. And these are skills that I think are very applicable to City Hall, where I can use problem solving and ideas of working together to solve some of the issues that Portland is facing. So that's about it for me. I'll keep it short. You can find me at letlarrycook.com, a website I designed myself 2 weeks ago. Very proud of that. I know it's a very good catchphrase. Aside from that, thank you for being here, and I hope to speak with you more.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Tucker. I live currently in the Madison South neighborhood. I bought a townhouse there about 2 years ago. The neighborhood is potentially going through a name change right now, so don't quote me on Madison South, but potentially much longer. I moved to Portland in 2022, but I kind of knew the PNW was it for me since 2007, so had a dream, made it come to reality. My job does not have an elevator speech, so I'm just going to say my education instead. I've got a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in special education, and a nationwide certification, and I'm licensed to work in the state of Oregon as well as Washington, and I work in the healthcare sector. I am autistic, and I'm running very openly as an autistic individual, and I believe very much in ethics. I believe in staying true and strong, and that communication is key. I think that we don't have enough collaboration with the people and the constituents, and I think that there's a lot left to be said currently that not a lot of people are saying. I would like to work across all sorts of places, put the constituents first, really listen to the people. If I'm elected, you're the voice of Portland. It's not me. I'm just delivering that message. I will yield my time. Thank you.
I've got to go
Oh, there's another microphone. Yeah, he's gonna stand up.
Coming through that wire is almost like basic training. I'm John Sweeney. I live in the Richmond area, and I've been a resident of Portland for a long time. And I was with the Portland Parks. I retired as a supervisor. I was in the Oregon Army National Guard and retired as a captain, and had a lot of management training and experience. And I want to use that to have Portland as a better place, and I want to preserve as many city services as possible. You got to remember the value of the properties downtown is dropped like a stone, so there can be less money for the city, the county, and Metro, and same with the Portland schools, the ESD, and Portland Community College are going to have less money. The homeless program is a welfare program, and I think it should be shifted to the county, because in 1983 they had Resolution 80, and Multnomah County took over the jails, the bridges, because nobody wanted bridges, and they took over the welfare programs. Because now you have all of these agencies competing to say, I'm doing a better job than you are, and the deal is the county should do it, and the cities, and Metro, and the state should support them. And that, in fact, in the morning paper, there was a thing about an agency in St. Helens is sending Native Americans into Portland when they don't make their program, and so they're importing some of those people because you're wondering about the increase in the homelessness, and they've actually had 3 reports on the news where they, in one case they talked to a woman in South Carolina, how do you like to live in Portland, Oregon? Got her past TSA on a plane, and here she came. So they are importing these things, and based on the organization out there in St. Helens, and the mental health industry is called Greyhound Therapy. Now, some of them are using airliners, but the deal is we're getting them imported. And I want to do the best for you for a better Portland, better Oregon, and a better America. Thank you very much.
I don't mind.
Right.
So, my name's Matthias Hallett. I have not lived in Oregon as long as Mr. Sweeney has. I've been here since 2023. I was originally working political campaign during the 22 mid-cycle. Met my wife and fell in love with this place and Portland. Moved her back to my hometown, Columbus, Georgia. You might be familiar with Fort Bennington. I kind of had a bug in my heart about this place, and I kind of tidied things up there, moved back here, laterally kind of got out of the ambulance chasing circuit. I was an attorney doing almost everything where the checks cleared. COVID, you don't really get to pick your cases, so you kind of just worked. But I just kind of hear the same story with my clients, how great Portland was, kind of the same time frame of things just not making sense. And then I jokingly say my 5-year review with Portland, estate planning is whether or not you're staying. Between the estate tax, I jokingly say if you own a home and have a retirement account, congratulations, you're a millionaire. You probably don't feel like it, but the state's going to tax you like they are. And now, as I've kind of gotten involved, I see that it's also at the local and municipal level as well, where they're just kind of double dipping in people's pockets and then wondering why, businesses are leaving and why, people that have a real blood tie to this place are just, going where I came from, for a better life. So I'm running for Portland of old, Portland I've heard great stories about, and I see, little pockets of hope that is still there, but I'm running for, hate to say it, I'm running for the old people.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for hosting this Future Portland. My name is Kelly Torres, and I am running in District 3. I'm a Woodstock resident. I've lived in Portland for about 25 years. I am a public servant and have been by choice and on purpose for over 21 years in this city. Started teaching second and third grade. I've worked for Portland Parks and Recreation for most of 20 years. I had a brief little stint in City Hall where I was the Chief of Staff to Commissioner Dan Ryan in 2020 to 2024, which were some tough years, and some big decisions happened during that time. I believe that in this city, we deserve leaders who get things done and people who show up and have tangible results for Portland. So my style is to show up, to listen, to bring people together, to build trust, and to get things done. And I have done that through the launching and development of Safe Rest Villages in this city, which I believe has paved the way for some more shelter programs in the city to help get people off the streets and into some stable living conditions. I have expanded Portland's parks programs and capital projects like basketball courts across the city. So I believe that my values are guiding me, my experience has prepared me, and my tangible experience and delivery is execution of really hard things. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this event, please. My name is Terry Parker. I live in the Rose City Park neighborhood, and I live in the house I grew up in. I own the house I grew up in. My parents bought it in 1954, and I was born in 1950. I've lived in Portland all my life. You might ask why I'm wearing this particular sweatshirt. Well, it all means something to me. I chaired the Citizens Advisory Committee in the 70s that recommended the first light rail line in Portland. I was elected chair for the last 2 years when we were making the decision. The committee lasted 4 years. The 4449, after it came back from the Freedom Train Service, one of the trips it made was to New Orleans for the World's Fair, and it promoted Portland all the way with stopovers. If you were operating a steam locomotive, you have to rebuild the boiler every 15 years. I helped rebuild it to go to New Orleans. And I was on the train in California. I was a car host coming back from California, or coming back from New Orleans. But if you think it's not a big deal, there's a place called Tehachapi Loop between Bakersfield and Los Angeles. There were 100,000 people watching that train go over the loop, and that's per the media report. Obviously, I'm a transportation guy. I'm going to read something here really quickly. Comprehensive plan policy. Ensure the cost of constructing and providing public facilities and services are equitably shared by those who benefit from the provision of those facilities and services. That is not being adhered to in transportation in Portland. So anyway, the other thing that I wanted to say real quickly is the city council needs a process to find a middle ground with the two sides can't agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, my name is Crystal Otero. I live in the Brooklyn neighborhood. I grew up in Vancouver. I was born in Fairbanks, Alaska, but grew up in Vancouver, Washington. And I was able to buy a house in Brooklyn primarily because I have a union job. So I'm a member of AFSCME Local 88. I have a lot of experience working in government. I've worked for the city of Fairview and Wood Village and Multnomah County. While at Multnomah County, I've worked to develop contracts between Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas counties. So bringing together some pretty different viewpoints about government and what government should pay for, and moving past those discussions into an actual contract. We have a lot of challenges ahead. Police response times, I understand that's going to be part of our discussion tonight. So we have a lot of challenges ahead. Police response times, about 8,000 people counted on the streets in Vancouver, and diminishing budgets. We will need to work together to get past no's. Portland has great ideas, and I can help turn those into successful programs. Thank you. Again, my name is Crystal Otero.
Hello. Hello. I just want to get a show of hands. How many people know who I am already in this room? For those that know, my name is Tom Solid. I live in the Kearns neighborhood. And I've been treating this entire campaign as a working interview. So people are saying that they're going to show up. I think some people here can verify that that is true. And I think how you start is how you finish. And as you can see, we've got a lot of great people here with a lot of great ideas, but we have a very short time to really verify if their experience can transfer to all the responsibilities that City Council has to throw at every single person there. I like to think that the way that you've seen me in this community, showing up, listening without judgment, but also looking for solutions to make sure that we can all move forward as a community, is something that you can expect from me later on after November. So that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Another quick round for all of our candidates for showing up. Excellent. So my name's Alan Combs. I'm on the board of the Future Portland Action Fund and a resident of District 3. I live near Laurelhurst Park in the southeast. I think it's, and I've lived here for 26 years. So, my kids grew up here, so I'm committed with Portland and, love the place. That's why I think why myself and other future Portlanders have joined, because we do want to make Portland a better place for the average Portlander, or for as many Portlanders as possible. I think that's the theme of our organization. So I'm going to ask the first question here, and I'm going to pass something out, but then I'll explain the rules a bit better.
This is 1.5, right?
So we're going to Peggy McComb is with me today to ask questions, and I'm going to ask the first one. So, we'll give you. We may ask like a flash question, raise your hand or not, but we will give you an opportunity to follow up. So please know that it'll probably be limited to 90 seconds. To the audience, I would ask, in general, unless you got a really pressing clarification question, that you just wait till the end. We're going to try to leave time for questions at the end. And so our first question is about public safety and policing. Currently, Portland Police Bureau, PPB, current staffing is 1,900 total, of which 805 are sworn officers, i.e. those are the officers that are able to use force and make arrests. From 2025 data, there's a graphic that's been gone around but with like 2022 data that shows where Portland stands relative to other U.S. cities. We updated this for 2025. And from that data, Portland is 46 out of 50 major U.S. cities in terms of having the lowest number of sworn officers per capita. We inched up just a little bit. We're at 1.3 officers per 1,000 residents, and the national median is about 2. If you were to try to make more comparable cities, like ones that are just from like, 500,000 to 1.5 million, and maybe exclude the Northeast cities for some reason, you'd still get Portland in the lowest 20%. So it's really, it's pretty durable statistic. So our question to our candidates is, do you support expanding police staffing and stabilizing their annual budget to help these efforts? So the question is, raise your hand if you're interested in supporting increasing police officers in Portland. Okay. All right. Okay, well, with that, I'll open it up to the floor, and again, you get 90 seconds to explain where you stand on police staffing. I saw yours, Kimberly. Go ahead.
Do you want us to stand for this one?
Yeah.
I currently believe that, one, we need to complete a cost-benefit analysis of the current budget, and as well as look for accountability in the pieces that are happening. What's working for us, what isn't working for us? What are the frustrations as a city, and what are the things that the city believes are going well? One of the things that I look at is a lot of our officers haven't lived in Portland. I hear about them living in like Oswego, Beaverton, etc. I think we could do better with bringing in more Portlanders to be officers. I think we could bring in a lot of training. I will say that I've interacted with officers from multiple other cities, and we have a lot more compassionate and ethical officers here than I've met in any other city. And I believe that that is something we want to keep going. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, again, Larry Kelly. I think first I would like to say that I definitely support the officers that we have now, the department that we have now, continuing their education and training further, fully in favor of. Another thing I'm a big fan of, though, is our street response team. I've seen the way it's worked in my neighborhood and the neighborhood where I work, and as well as some of my friends, and as a lot of different opportunities for non-sworn personnel to respond to various calls. And I like that, I'm very glad that City Council had managed to pass a budget that included the street response team as well as other mental health allocations for it. Something that I am interested in that I think kind of falls into this as well is that I moved here from Bellingham and they had piloted a compassionate court program where for nonviolent offenders, instead of sending them to jail if they had a history of mental illness or fell under that umbrella, they were prescribed a mental health specialist, kind of that they saw regularly as a parole officer might, right? And they just got the numbers at whatcomcounty.gov. You can find these results, but after the first 2 years, 75% of people finished their programs and less than 1/4 reoffended. And so I'd be very interested in bringing something like that to Portland and finding other avenues other than increasing police budget to facilitate some of these solutions. Thank you very much.
Terry Parker here. I fully agree that we need to add police officers. On the 4th of July, there were 100 calls waiting in the queue for police action because there wasn't enough officers to attend. I also believe that we need to fully staff the fire stations, similar to what he was talking about, and that's all part of it.
So blanketly, I think we need more manpower and equipment. My understanding of police and emergency response is based on my best friend being a firefighter in Nashville. Like the other candidates said, we really are kind of on the forefront of policing, but we're not giving them enough funding to actually implement their more community-based policing model. Like Larry was saying, there's a lot of different pieces of our law enforcement in Portland, so I think that we kind of need to have a holistic approach to funding these pieces, because at the end of the day, if our non-sworn officers are in a situation that escalates, they're still going to have to call sworn police personnel. If we don't have enough of them, now we've got a bigger problem. So I think that we kind of need to take a holistic approach. We are at the forefront of policing and then never fully implemented that model here. I think that that's something that kind of goes unnoticed here in Portland. I've lived in a lot of the populations that are listed on here, and the responses are certainly more aggressive than Portland police. But that being said, sometimes that aggressiveness is warranted. But that's my take on policing.
I'm John Sweeney, and Resolution A, prior to Resolution A, City of Portland was a 10 mile by 10 mile square with 800 officers. Then with Resolution A, it became a 10 mile by 15 mile rectangle. Basically, so you went from 100 square miles to 150 square miles, plus the fact that the population is about double. So they do need to increase the number of officers. They'd like to see them reinstate the reserve program so people can come into the reserves and climb and have our local citizens get those jobs. An example of that is the sheriff of Clackamas County started as a reserve officer and climbed the ranks. One of the troubles is you have a lot of people coming here with really good credentials, they get a little experience, and they go somewhere else for more money. So we need to have a system where people come and stay and basically, like when I was a military policeman, from the troops, for the troops. So it'd be from the citizens, for the citizens. We've got to do that.
So at this time, I don't support increasing police officers. I understand, though, that many of the people here tonight have had really bad experiences. Earlier, I heard that someone found a dead body in their yard. People have been assaulted on the streets, have had their purse stolen. So those are major concerns. What I would advocate for is that we hear the ways that we can support the police officers outside of increasing the number, and I know that's really important. From a labor perspective, I have questions about who's on the force currently. So I think there are about 600 sworn officers. There are only 4 black women and 1 Native American person on the force. So I just have questions about the environment and what their hiring practices are, and I actually support what Tom just said in terms of the reserve program. The police, that job is a very well-paid job, and so let's get some of people from our community into those jobs. I don't want to diminish the experiences people have, and I take those seriously. This is a really political issue, and I don't know whether or not I would change my stance, but currently I don't support that.
I think with basically with every city service, it can't really be reduced just down to the number of personnel that we have. I do agree that we do need to increase police staffing in different parts of town. We went from 5 precincts to 3, and I've spent a lot of time over in District 1, going to Loretta Smith's, Councilor Smith's Coffee with the Cop, so I can understand the issue a lot better. I've been to National Night Out, so I could talk with all the first responders personally in districts 2, 3, and 4. Just so I can understand from a face-to-face value, kind of like how they're stretched thin. A lot of it is really a distribution issue. We have a lot of systems that underlie that support our first responders in being able to respond quickly. And that includes PSR. They're based out of like Southwest. So for them to go from Southwest to Kenton is an incredible effort. By the time they get there, normally the problem is either disappeared or moved on or become more exacerbated. But I think if we're going to have an argument about needing more patrol officers, and we're not just talking about just sworn officers, we need to be specific. If we're going to have a conversation with everybody here about why we need more, where we need more, how we're going to deploy them, and how we're going to support them in the work that they're doing.
I believe public safety is a progressive value. People deserve to feel safe in their homes, in church, in hospitals, schools, etc. I believe that we are all reeling from 3 shocking gun violence activities just in the last 7 days. We've listened to stories about women fighting for their lives on trails locally with a long wait time, almost 30 minutes for police to arrive. And we're dealing with data about drugs and what it's doing, the drugs that are currently on the streets and what it's doing to people's frontal lobe, to be really clear. And I think that's the reason that the response times are so long for the police, and because that they're dealing for longer periods of time with people who are in crisis on the streets. So there's a lot to digest there, but the bottom line is we need to invest more. And I believe in it. I've stood for it. When I was in City Hall and a chief of staff to a commissioner who had to make a decision on that, he chose to not defund the police, and I believe that that's why we're on at least a better path right now with making decisions, better decisions going forward. So I agree, we need to fund the police.
Yeah, I think we need more police. I think one way to do that maybe would just speed up the vetting process that they go through before they even go into the academy. I think it takes like 6 months or something like that. And I think we can do that faster. But I fully support having more police. But I think it's important to acknowledge that we've kind of lost the trust with the police, because you see, you know, these police that do bad things, they're protected by the union and they never get fired. And I think that a lot of people just, you know, hate that. And I think these, you know, we need to stand up against some of these unions. I'm all for union labor, but protecting bad people I'm not for. Thank you.
Everybody done? Okay. I'm Peggy McDaniel, and I am also on the Future Portland Board. And I'm excited to be here, and thank you everyone for coming. We sent you guys these questions, but we're kind of paraphrasing so that we can speed it up a little bit. But The east side has been a focus for housing development for a long time. There's currently, we do know we need more affordable housing. It's a no-brainer, right? People want to live in Portland, people like the east side. There is some current push to move housing forward in a very aggressive manner, and there's been a process that's in full bore. So I want to ask folks, I don't know, have people heard about the suspension of design review as part of this process? No? Okay, something just to think about, okay? Some of this is just to pique your interest, and maybe you can do a little bit of research on it. That's already something that's been proposed, and it's probably going to happen. So as part of doing a major infill project on the east side, they plan to suspend design review across the entire area to help promote infill and building to speed up. So whether that's good or bad, that's just, maybe you just need to look into that yourself. There's a couple of groups that are really driving some of the more intense parts of this. So Portland Neighbors Welcome, and then also Inner East Side for All. And their focus is affordable housing and density. So I have a question around that. Do you support that? And do you support their platform if you know it? And if you support it, why? And what are your nuances on it? Because I think a lot of that focus is pretty black and white, and I would like to hear your take and what you think could be done and how it could be done the best that it can be done. Make sense? Okay. Why not?
Well, I'll go first because I don't honestly know a lot about that, but I do support having more affordable housing as opposed to low-income housing because, my daughter, she can barely afford rent, and I think a lot of people just can't afford rent. So having more government-owned affordable housing will just, reduce rent around Portland. And so I'm for it. I think we've spent billions on helping the homeless. Why don't we spend some on affordable housing that is lasting and be something that could help Portland for a long time? That's it.
I believe that, Kelly Torres, I believe that we need to be thoughtful. I believe that we need more housing. I believe that we need lots of different types of housing, but we should be very thoughtful about where we're doing it and how it impacts the neighborhoods. And I also believe in getting things done a lot quicker than government does, but not at the cost of long-term livability. And I too have 30-year-old children who have no hope of owning a home in Portland, and they're also struggling with what people consider to be low rents. So I'm aware that we do need affordable housing. I'm for it. We just need to be thoughtful and intentional and not as much process, but more collaboration with neighborhoods to make it right.
For those who are willing to share, how many rent? I'm a renter. It is a pretty penny, and we're making it work. I've already told you what I do for a living, and most of my coworkers, associates, and friends are one paycheck away, one bad month away from having to call in favors to family or find different resources to get by. So home ownership is one issue. We're not talking about that. I believe we need all levels of housing. More affordable housing, more low-income housing, more multifamily units, the whole nine. Though something I would like to mention, I did speak with someone from the Renters Alliance yesterday who spoke about how many of their colleagues have sold and left town because they feel that the push and pull between renters' rights and owners' rights has been favoring the renters because the renters are largely going against corporations and not individuals like I met yesterday. And so I think there's a lot of nuance there that needs to be explored and how we could benefit both parties, because when it comes down to it, wealth is leaving the city with all these corporations coming in, buying up plots of land. They build a new structure with no parking. And I think a lot of that needs to be addressed to ensure that not only is it equitable for us as renters and people on all parts of the income spectrum, but that it promotes keeping wealth in the city with landlords that are individuals and not companies. Thank you.
Terry Parker. I believe that Portland needs to become more affordable, and that's inclusive of a competitive business environment, encouraging job creation and investment. And that's one way to get the housing costs down. Another way to get the housing costs down is we have a problem in Portland of this anti-car situation. They want to charge the drivers for everything. That raises the transportation costs for goods and services, including building materials. As far as the density is concerned, I think the density for the housing needs to be on the corridors, like Powell, Burnside, not in the middle of neighborhoods that some of these groups want. We have a fairly dense with just the housing in there. We don't need, a duplex is fine, but not putting in multi-story buildings within the single-family home neighborhoods. Do it on the corridors.
Kimberly Tucker. The only way I was able to afford a townhouse was with the current system development change, which is a program that allows lower income individuals under a certain cap to buy housing. We don't need to get rid of design review. I bought 2 years ago. We need more intensive purposes. I will say that right now. My house is lovely. The process it went through was too fast. It was obvious that there were things that the builders didn't care about. They cared about getting it done and getting it done quickly. They cared about moving people in there. We need people who want to invest and who want to continue to invest. We need houses that last, and we need housing for everyone. Some people don't want a yard. Some people don't want to park. Some people want to be downtown. Some people want to be as far away from everyone as they can get. We need to keep Portland for all, and we need to ensure that our residents aren't one paycheck away from potentially facing an eviction, potentially getting a car repossessed. We need to make sure that we are investing and keeping Portland equitable for everyone who loves the city.
First of all, they have 25,000 affordable housing units. 19,000 of them are vacant. If they could fill them with the usual family, that would probably house 60,000 people. That's 10% of the city of Portland population. You need to, first thing, is fill those vacancies.
What do I think? I wrote a bunch of notes here. In terms of density and pausing the design review, I absolutely don't think we should pause the design review. I think, if, for example, if you work in planning, you might know that the city, Lake Oswego has it has the most planning codes of any city around here to keep the character of their city. And I think we should I think that we should strive to keep the unique character of the neighborhoods we have here. And I think neighborhood associations should play a role in approving what happens within their neighborhood. In terms of affordable housing, I think we should focus on people who make 0 to 30% area median income. Primarily, those are people with disabilities, and supporting them to own where they live. I think that we should transfer some of our affordable housing into cooperatives where the tenants who live there own the building and the city retains the land, and they have a stable place to live. The state's plan to the state is pressuring the city to build 200,000 units. That is going to dramatically change how the city looks. And people who live here should definitely have a say in what happens. And I don't think we should be steamrolled into accepting whatever thing a developer wants to build.
So I'm a little familiar with this project. I came out to a happy hour for Neighbors Welcome when they had 2 people from Peapod introducing the Inner East Side for All initiative. And some of the things that kind of stuck out to me is that, our infrastructure alone can't really keep up with the development that they're hoping to provide. our sewer system is already built as like this tunnel of bricks apparently, which is why we kind of offload a bunch of stuff into the Willamette River every single time there's a lot of rain. So that was my first kind of introduction to the project, and I think we're also riding on this assumption that the more affordable housing we have that's labeled as such will make housing actually more affordable. When most of the projects that we see are usually just renter focused as opposed to long-term livability, home ownership, pathways to keeping people rooted in their neighborhoods. And I think that with all kind of ideas or initiatives, they're all worth kind of interrogating a bit more, which makes me very concerned that there is effort to bypass any sort of review process to make sure that this is actually respecting the neighborhoods that they're hoping to build more housing in. So I would never support something like that.
So for me, affordable housing, it's kind of a misnomer. Housing would be affordable if we had more jobs for people. That's kind of the elephant in the room here. It's like I am a renter in one of the dense units. That's literally, we moved here with the, I guess the push of like you get so many months off rent and then you live here. It's like they're not really considering the long-term owners in the neighborhood. It's like even as a renter, it's like the parking is absolutely terrible. You either have to pay extra money for parking on an already stretched income, or you just wish for luck on the streets. And then we all know with our policing, Portland's insurance companies just haven. I have literally had my car sideswiped twice on street parking, and the insurance just told me, I kid you not, my wheels were too far out in the street. So it wasn't covered by my insurance policy. We really do need to think about how these developments affect travel for everyone. But I have a hard time with government making decisions in my plan, in my job. My joke is, if you don't do your own estate plan, you get the state's plan. And the state's plan never works for anybody, other than, if you're on the take. But I just think private sectors could, solve this a little easier. And, to our other candidates' point, we're stuck with the people that are willing to invest in Portland based on, the business economics of this place. It's like, so if you're willing to, navigate the risky adventure of Portland investment, it's like, they are going to be the worst actors. I was a litigator. It's like, I know exactly what you're going to do. There's no consequences. It's like, you're literally between them and rationalizing that decision. As soon as, the more zeros you have and based on those decisions, you can rationalize a lot of things. So that's kind of how I feel. So we want affordable housing. Let's quit pushing businesses out. If you want affordable housing, find a small landlord if you can. I know it's hard to hold your business, but that's why we're stuck with these big corporations. It's like nobody can afford to work here unless you've got businesses in other places offsetting the losses here. So it's none of us really have a good answer, I think, because it's evolving every day. But I think everybody kind of has the same writing on the wall. This isn't fair for the regular consumer, and it's not fair for business owners to be lumped in with. I guess that's my time.
That mic is too hot to handle. So we're almost done with this question on housing and housing zoning and affordable housing. We do have another invited candidate, Michael Johnson, with us. So, Michael, I'd like to ask you to, we'll give you maybe an extra 45 seconds to both introduce yourself. We asked where in District 3 you live, how long you've lived in Portland, but then if you want to dip in and answer the question at hand, please do so, and welcome. Thank you for coming. So go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Future Portland, for inviting me. Thank you, candidates that are here that showed up for Future Portland. It's good to see you, good to meet you. I met some of you, and I get to see some of the others that are here today. I am Michael Johnson. I've lived here for 58 years. And so I was here when the previous government was here. So, as we changed over to this new type of government, But one thing that I was listening to the candidates, and they all have great ideas. I loved everything that you guys were saying. And I think that is one of the great things about this new government style is that we get introduced to a lot of different candidates and a lot of different backgrounds. My background is I have background in conflict resolution. The reason I say that first is because I worked in the community. I've nonprofit. I've been working for a nonprofit over 25 years. So I started out as an outreach worker when we had gang violence at a high. And I still continue to work as an outreach worker, but I'm also a director. So I'm on ground level when it comes to the issues in our community. And I mean, I was here before we had lines dividing us with District 1, 2, and 3. So I've lived all over the city. So in 45 seconds, I'm gonna answer this question. The previous government had a 10-year plan, and that plan was set in place, and that's why we're here today. It's because they wanted us to look like San Francisco. All the buildings are gonna go high and high and high all over the city because there's no room in San Francisco, as you can see, when it comes to building homes, single homes, affordable homes, you name it. And so they want to use that model here in Oregon, especially in Portland. And so that's why we have a problem with the land development and all the different issues, is because nobody looked down in the future to say, how would this look, how we're going to get there, and if it's going to work. And so now here we are to make that change and hopefully end that kind of plan for our city and come up with a better, newer plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, again, Alan here. I'd like to go on to another question on economic development. And we've already covered housing, so this is economic development that maybe is solutions other than just, say, fix the housing problem. So, I mean, Portland, I think most people would say Portland's economic activity is not been, at least year on year, it seems to hold steady. At least that's my observation. But Portland's unemployment rate is actually higher than the national average, and it's higher than comparable Oregon cities. It's about 20 to 25% higher than Corvallis, Salem, and Eugene. So our question is, you're going to be on the city council. The city council is a legislative policy body for our city. Can you identify a specific project you would champion on council that would bring jobs or growth to Portland? Now, if along the way you want to talk about how the mayor's, program to keep our streets clean and provide shelter as a way to promote economic growth, please, you can address that. But really what I think we're after is name one thing you can do that actually would, actually increase jobs or increase the activity of businesses in Portland. So with that, who would like to go first? Dr. Theis? Let's try this other mic again, real quick. If I turn that one on.
Exploding mics. Go mic check.
Turn the gain up on it.
Keep looking at that place, it's making me hungry.
Okay, so, sorry, with all that, can you repeat the question?
Well,
I go to the
name one
grocery
specific
store.
thing you're doing as a council to help increase economic activity or jobs in the city.
The first thing I would do is quit raising fees for small businesses. That's the first thing I can do. Until we kind of get this antagonistic business, environment, we're not going to increase, outside investment. We need to make it a little easier on the businesses that we do have here, to survive and kind of weather the normal storms of business. And then, surprise, surprise, if their families here, their grandkids are here, they're going to stay, and they'll probably hire one or two more people. And then, let's start with protecting small businesses, making sure they have an environment where they can, one, thrive. Then, we can make things more attractive to bring outside investment. But the fact that we're losing so many manufacturing jobs, and it's because we're increasing the cost of doing business here, let's work a few deals. I've seen Georgia, where I moved from, kind of just we've imported quite a few businesses just by playing ball from businesses on the West Coast are leaving. It's, the news is Charlotte, Nashville, Georgia's. It's not rocket science. Do what they're doing to get people to come here. If they've already have a tie to the West Coast, it shouldn't be that hard to convince them to stay. But quit making businesses feel like they're the enemy. It's kind of a
ring around the candidates with the microphone over. All right. First, I'm going to say that small business is the backbone of Portland's economy. And I know firsthand how much hard work it takes just to break even, let alone turn a profit and grow. Okay? With that said, something that I think would actually be very beneficial to increasing our local economy starts with enforcing traffic laws. I saw that the council just passed the no turn on red lights at 30 designated intersections. I can't tell you how many times I see people turn on a red arrow. That is against the law. And I know commuting is no fun, that there's a lot of people living out in Clackamas and out in Gresham that have to come through our neighborhoods to get home, but you have to follow the rules. That's part of the social contract. And I believe that without increasing spending, but utilizing infrastructure that already exists, there's a lot of passive income that the city isn't taking hold of. And once we do have that income, I think a very inexpensive option is to let's fix the potholes and the sidewalks. Let's make it easier for everyone and to continue to ensure that Portland is a very safe space for pedestrians and cyclists, but let's make it even safer, because when we already have destination neighborhoods. People already want to come here. And when we start on that ground level, I do believe that you're going to bring in more interest, you're going to bring in more money from people visiting, from tourists, as well as our own local economies, and that will eventually lead to more jobs. It's not a quick fix, but I believe that is a good place to start. Thank you.
I believe a thriving economy is the heart of the vitality of the city, and that I want to lean into public-private partnerships. It's something that I've done most of my career with Portland Parks and Recreation, and there is a misnomer that when we partner with corporations or we partner with organizations that want to do something nice for our community, that it impacts city jobs. And I want to say it does impact city jobs, but every time that I've ever leveraged outside resources, it has saved jobs in the city. It has freed up the general fund to be able to keep workers who are otherwise on a list to be cut. So I want to lean into public-private partnerships more and not villainize them.
Oh, it doesn't move. Okay. Hello? Yeah, I agree with many things they were saying, and I also think we should do something about our water and sewer bills, which are just insane. We pay twice as much as Las Vegas. This is crazy. So the whole department's protected by a law that was passed, I guess, in the 60s, where all that money went just to the water and sewer. But I think we need to open that up and find ways to reduce the cost. They've just gotten out of control with this whole bull run filtration system, and it was supposed to be $500 million, and now it's $2.5 billion. So I think we need to look at that and try to do some value engineering. One last thing, I disagree on the no turn on red light. I don't think we need to change that. Anyway.
It's also not illegal to turn on a red arrow if it's going the same direction.
I know you
know
know.
that for a fact because I work in traffic safety.
What I think we need to do is we need to review our tax system, because our tax system is what is driving, the taxes and fees is what's driving the economy in part, and businesses can't survive. We also need to have small businesses involved with planning. I'll give you an example. TriMet wants to put in a bat lane on 82nd Avenue.
Boo.
The small businesses on 82nd Avenue, a lot of them, 90% of their business arrives by car. The bat lanes is going to divert up to 5,000 cars a day. We're not looking at it. And what's the bat lanes going to cost to save an extra 5 minutes of travel time on transit? But we have to look at the entire picture of reducing the fee for not only small businesses, but big businesses, and making sure that the people that aren't paying their share do start paying their share. Thank you.
We had this whole plan for downtown revitalization, and I think it went horribly wrong when at the same time we raised parking fees down there.
Woo!
Why are our parking lots owned by people who don't even live in the city? They should be owned by the businesses that are surrounding them. That money should go back to them and be invested back into them. We need to talk about bringing people in. We need to talk about how we get them there and how we keep them there. How are they going to come back to these businesses? And how are they going to keep buying into Portland when it's so easy to say, oh, I need this, let me just hop on Amazon, let me go to Target. How do we let them know what Portland has to offer when we're driving them away from the heart of Portland?
Woo!
I believe in supporting the small businesses. I also believe in the taxes, getting rid of some of these taxes. And I also believe that we need to clean our city up.
Yeah, amen.
I travel over the city, and I love this city. It's been my home. I'm vested in the city. And once we start cleaning and getting that taken care of, let's start looking at attracting new businesses, okay, within our city, not alone just outside the city. But I believe within our cities, a lot of us have grandchildren, we have families, we have uncles and aunties who have great ideas. Let's start making sure that those resources are being known out in our community. So then that way they'll know which way direction to go. We look at that we are serious about voting, but those are some folks that's out there just have a voice, but are still on their couches, are still watching TV and watching us get out here and do the work. And I think we need to attract more people to get out here with us and get things done. Thank you.
We're starting into treating all businesses equal, because one of the big problems is they give extra tax breaks to big companies. Then they come in here, and when the tax breaks go away, they go away. And a lot of times they lay off hundreds of people at a time. So we got to get fair with all businesses on the tax problem, because again, small businesses are important, and we got to have them because they start people working, because a lot of people, especially young people, it's their starter jobs in small businesses before they move on.
In terms of a specific project, something I'm interested in is looking at the rate that the city contracts with local contractors. So beyond construction, the city likely procures services, all types of services, for material, paper, materials, consulting. So what percentage of that is from local vendors? And what I'm interested in is to see us increase the number of local folks who have businesses to contract with the city, and that requires technical assistance to support people to understand what's possible from a government contract. We, the city of Portland, the budget is $8 billion. Multnomah County is $4 billion. So we have $12 billion in some way cycling through this city. How can we increase the amount of money local business owners are getting from the tax dollars that we pay into the system?
we have more money than that floating around. So earlier this week, I was at a morning conversation with the Oregon Association of Minority Entrepreneurs. They had Councilor President Juan Gonzalez out there talking about the different contracts that are available to people who do construction and different types of work here in the city. If we can start coordinating a bit better, we can replicate some of their same RFP processes, technical assistance, make it easier for different types of entrepreneurs to access these public funds to stabilize their own businesses, improve their opportunity, but we're talking about city council right now. So some of the things that I've learned by hanging around basically as many different things that I can as possible is that we used to have a small business advisory council that would review with the chief of staffs of different councilors before different policies made it to the city council meetings in the public eye. So if you notice that even though there's some great things that happened that were proposed by Councilor Zimmerman to increase the exemption for small businesses, a lot of people with brick and mortars were like, hey, that doesn't help us. But if we reinstituted something like that, it would help us in the short term. But personally, for me, my biggest thing that I want to target in city council when I'm there is to bring some focus to our development agency. We've had one all this time. The question is, what are they doing to ensure that we have big employers coming to Portland, that we're lobbying our state for the right tax credits, exemptions, different types of amendments that we did at that level to make sure that Portland can stay competitive here, because it's not just what's happening here, it's intergovernmental.
Yep. All right. Succinct.
So this is going to sound like a hyper-local question, I think, but I want to preface it by asking kind of a general question. So who has heard about the Delta Park bottle drop closing? Out in the crowd. Okay. Does everybody know why?
No one wants them there.
What was that?
It was too depressing.
Okay.
The
And
the lease was up.
is anybody familiar with the 122nd bottle drop? Okay. So we know that Delta Park is closed. Good for them, right? I shouldn't say that. I'm supposed to be neutral-ish. And then we know that 122nd is still open, and I would encourage anyone here to go by there, hang out for a couple hours, and just see how it goes. We also have a bottle drop, technically a redemption center, that's run by canners, for canners by Ground Score Association. They're an amazing group that does great work supporting folks that are unhoused, and they actually have quite a few people on an actual payroll. So they're doing good work. They're located under the Morrison Bridge, and they've been there for 5 years. It was an emergency COVID setup because a lot of the places where these folks were redeeming closed during COVID, so the city helped set them up. Anyway, long story short, the city has a document that was written up around bottle drops. So originally it was referring to Delta Park, 122nd, and the People's Depot, and it talks about all of the challenges that those bottle drops bring to their areas, and how much the city's invested in police and chat and public the support response people, everybody that supports those areas. No amount of investment has calmed those areas, okay? So Delta Park closed because of crime. OBRC was unable to renew the lease. They just said, nope, we're not renewing your lease. 122nd still going, and the People's Depot is still going. There's a lot more behind this. I encourage you to look it up, because it's not just the question I'm going to get to. It's not this hyper-local issue around the People's Depot. It's a Portland city-wide issue. As it stands right now, there's nothing that would keep the OBRC, the Oregon Beverage Recycling Cooperative, from dropping a bottle drop into any neighborhood in the city because of the way things are zoned. and how they're recognized. So just take that and stew with it a bit. So my question to you is, do you realize that the People's Depot is planning to move to the corner of Southeast Milwaukee and Powell, which is a very complicated and dangerous intersection? And if you do, or even if you don't, what do you think about that? And how do you feel, or how should I say this? What would be the best way to deal with our city in general, in our area, D3, when it comes to bottle drops, the need for people to redeem cans? Because right now it's a right of people to be able to take your cans in, whether you use the bag system, or you do hand counts at Plaid Pantry, or you go to the People's Depot. What is the best way to make this so that it's accessible, but it's safer for the neighborhoods, for the businesses next door, and for the residents next door? So it's kind of a weird question, I understand that, but I'm kind of just interested in your thoughts around that, because it's going to affect D3 quite a bit. You want to just turn it on?
Since I have a mic in my hand, I'd love to go first. I have visited the 122nd. I was called in by my uncle, because that's where he drops his bottles off. And as I was in line, I observed a lot, and then I just couldn't help it. Hey, y'all, I'm running for city council. Do you know who your councilors are? And come to find out, most of the folks in the line did not know. And then so I started questioning the folks about the issues and the problems firsthand from them. And it was a variety of a lot of answers. And some were about the senior citizens trying to drop off their bottles. The drugs that's going on in there. And to really get to the point is, the approach to the problem is that I don't think they took an outlook of how to look at the problem as a whole. You got to look at it as a whole. So you got to look at the crime, the customers who are dropping off the bottles, and approach it as a whole. And that's when partnerships come in. That's when you make loud noise to get all the input that you can get to help solve that issue. Because not one person can solve it, not one company can solve it, and definitely the corporations is not going to get involved unless you make it attractive for them. So I believe that it should be a multifaceted approach to that issue. Thank you.
My last place of residence was out off of 122nd and Division. And I still continue to drive past that place once or twice a week to go to clients' houses. It is not an attractive place. I'll say that bluntly, because I'm autistic and I believe in autistic bluntness and honesty. I think that exactly what you said, it is a multi-system approach. I currently volunteer with NAMI Multnomah County and do a lot of the stuff with their mental health programs in the community. We don't have enough resources for mental health. We all know where Oregon stands. We need those there, because people don't think about it. Drug and addiction problems in general, they can affect anyone. That is a mental health problem at the end of the day. We need to partner not just with the city in terms of having, and the county in terms of having resources there. We need to partner with our nonprofits to have resources there. We need those resources on site for those people so that they can access them equitably. And we don't need those people, as harsh as it sounds, we don't need them near Milwaukee and Powell. It is not safe at all. There are too many deaths out there already.
I'm going to interject with a clarification question for Peggy. So are those three spots the only ones that will give you cash on the spot for your bottles at this point?
Small grocers, so Plaid Pantries.
Small grocers, Plaid Pantry?
Those kind of places. The 122nd and the People's Depot, that's it. And the People's Depot and 122nd, I don't know if anyone saw the, let me just see this one, because it's an interesting, the recent Oregonian piece talked about this, and they said, where will they go when Delta Park closes? Well, we've seen it already, and the People's Depot now has a line all the way up and around the corner and up and they can't finish in the time that they have. So it is impacting everybody. And 122nd is getting a lot of the cars from Washington loaded with cans, which is actually fraud. So what are we going to do?
Can I ask the clarification, because I'm still wondering why it is we have to give cash out for these bottles. But anyway, please keep going, because I'm going to address this next.
So I think in 2017 we went to 10 cents a can, and I've noticed that ever since 2017, that's been a rise in homelessness. So I had the thought of maybe we didn't pass the law; it's a state law for cans, but we could at least petition the state to say, let's pause it for a year on the whole city, and just see what happens. If I'm wrong, we're wrong. And there are some people that still need to return cans, and they can go to Milwaukee or Gresham or Beaverton, which, by the way, their homeless go to Portland, and they give us no money to help with the homelessness crisis. So, why not just stop for a while and see what happens? That's my 2 cents.
There are a lot of concerns about the locations and the activities. What I hear in Southeast Portland is the lack of cooperation from the businesses nearby that allow drug deals to happen without implementing their own security services or other things. And so it perpetuates the problem. I believe that we need consequences for things when they go wrong, and I'm not sure that we have those. And so I'm not sure that any of us, like, these decisions might be made before any of us could get elected, but I think what we can do is make sure that the good neighbor agreements, or whatever the agreements are in place, have consequences and have teeth.
Okay, first, thank you for the red arrow correction. I am humbled, and I learned something today. Thank you.
The red arrow, the turning thing.
Integrity is a big thing to me, okay? It's not just about doing what's right or telling the truth. It's about admitting when you're wrong and being humble. And admitting when you don't know something, and I admittedly don't know a whole lot about this particular issue, and I'm going to drive there today and have a look for myself and get informed. I've been asked a lot about what I think or what I support, and that is secondary, because what I think and what I support are the people of District 3. I want to hear from you. It's you that I'm working for, that I'm applying for a job for. And it's far more important to me to take that into account and to hear the local businesses, the community, and everyone else's ideas, because mine aren't as important as those are. And that's what I would do in City Hall, is act on behalf of everybody else. Okay, thank you.
I personally use the 122nd to drop off bottles. I drink a lot of Coca-Cola. And, when I'm a little bit short of cash, it's nice to be able to go in and get something so I can go to the grocery store. I will say they have speeded up the system out there. I mean, it used to be that you could wait an hour to get up, and now I don't think it's more than about 15 or 20 minutes. What I have noticed in the past couple of days, or couple of weeks, is about a block north on the same side of the street. There's a little rock field there that people are sitting on. I'm sure that they're probably selling drugs there. And I wonder where the police are, or where the law enforcement is, because they've got to know that that's happening there. And every time I drive by there. As far as fixing the problem, I don't know, I like the cash, so I'm kind of torn about that. But maybe they could, give us a card for the grocery store, or something like that. It's something that ought to be tried. And then you don't have the cash, because that's usually where I'm going if I'm depositing a bunch of bottles. And I'm getting maybe $20 worth or something. I don't particularly like the green bags, because you got to buy the bags. And I've already spent money on the can. I don't. Anyway, I'm cheap. So I'm looking at that person here.
You're fiscally responsible. Yes. Good.
spending it on drugs. Well, that's right. You get 20% more if you just.
So I will also say I collect my cans and deposit them. I love free money. But I've watched just me and my wife kind of using that to save. You kind of watch the power dynamics at play. Like they said, if you look far enough away, you can see the drug dealers waiting for the money that people are collecting, and then they're going, and buying the drugs. And then anytime you have people that have an income source that necessarily their lifestyle should give them, you're going to see those bad behaviors when I heard someone say we don't have consequences for bad behaviors. So, it's kind of a weird economy to create, in a place. And some of our candidates have said, it's not fair to take that money from regular people that need it, especially older people that are on fixed incomes. But they're not going to be able to go into these places and actually keep that money. If we've got bad actors that can come in with no consequences, and then we're increasingly limiting law enforcement response times. It's like I've lived in major cities that the criminals literally know the response time, so they know they've got 20 minutes to get this done, and no one's going to do anything. And you've lived in your neighborhood long enough, and you can see the main characters, so to speak, that are kind of preying on our citizens and our neighbors. So I think it is a multifaceted approach. I think increased law enforcement, like actual patrols, would help, because like we said, it's like we know what's happening, but if there's no consequences for drug dealing and the follow-on consequences that has on a community, it's just citizens. There's no civil suit or agreement is ever going to fix the problem if there's no enforcement mechanisms. I think that those agreements, sure, saying we have more teeth would be fine, but who's going to enforce it? It's like it's your word versus your neighbor's.
There are a lot of layers to a situation like the People's Depot. Number one, no matter how much teeth there is within a good neighbor agreement, it is a non-binding contract. It is a good faith document that is signed between different parties. And I think we have to look a little bit further beyond kind of what a piece of paper has to say. This is one of the issues that I identified having started going out in the community as much as possible back in December. This is why Peggy and I know each other. We got coffee after I went to a meeting where Councilor Novick was being confronted not just by the Hosford Abernathy Neighborhood Association, but also the Brooklyn Neighborhood Association, the Brooklyn business owners, because they knew, based on the information and data that you can infer from what happened to Delta Park, that this was going to have a detrimental impact on their neighborhood. There's no accountability being held by anyone who is responsible for that move to that location. I've spoken with Chris from Brownsboro Association, and I am unsure if he meant to let this slip, but the reason they are there is not because they chose to be there. This is a decision that was driven in a small part by the mayor because he wanted to open the Oasis shelter. And he said, hey, could you not have this in your headquarters downtown in Old Town? Take it somewhere else. The burden we are putting on everyday people is starting to accumulate to an unmanageable amount. The people who have that higher security, the neighbors that are concerned about what's going to happen, it's being deferred, plus that money that is going to go to extra patrols isn't coming from nowhere. They're being paid by the grocery stores. And not just the big ones that have the big budgets to say anything. They're also being paid by people that run things like Grocery Outlet who can't, that have to opt out. They have to still carry the same burden, but a lot of them are able to defer it because they have deeper pockets than everybody else. So is this a system that we want to encourage? One that lets people, just because they have more money than everyone else, defer their problems onto the rest of us? And I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree with actually what Tom was sharing. I think we need to change the requirements for these facilities. I think they should be required to have security. I also think they should be required to have some type of nonprofit run it, like how we run shelters or day centers. So Ground Score, maybe they come and they operate the bottle drop as employees, and we have security. And then why do we make it hard on ourselves? We should have homeless services on site. We should have like addiction services, mental health services, people that can take people to the hospital or to shelter. This is where folks congregate. I don't think we should make it hard on ourselves. I think we should embrace that people want to return bottles. They depend on the income. And let's put services there and security there so people feel safe, and use it as a jumping off point to build rapport and get people back into recovery.
You cure a lot of the problems through scheduling. They know when the good things happen, they know when the bad things happen. And so the thing is that they can have the police there for the bad things, and it will change the behavior. But the thing is that they need to schedule for what's going on. And I was in charge of the North Portland Parks, and they closed down Columbia Pool during the school shutdown. I told them, what are you thinking? He said, we have a schedule. I said, the schools are shut down. This is the busiest time of year. It's tough, but schedule. And then also our trucks, we have to send them in the summer. Why can't we send them in the winter? What's the deal? I says, well, we get it in there, somebody finds a nick, they put it in the body shop, and the cops pile up a couple of cars, and so the deal is, our trucks, in one case in August, and we got it back in October, because the cops were doing a lot of body swapping there. And anyway, it's the scheduling, they know when the good happens, they know when the bad happens, and they can do scheduling to make it happen.
Ms. Kay, the mic came back to me real quick. Real short. I just want to send a message to my candidates, my folk fellows and women here. Be careful of some of your ideas. Because, like I said, I've been here all my life. Some of the ideas can hurt the situation than help the situation. If you remove, put a pause, now you're going to have a trash issue. Because where do you think those cans are going to go? Okay, but do you really think that low income is going to recycle?
Yes.
They're going to, I can tell you different. Look at Louisiana. They don't have a balance. They don't have cans. I saw it from my own eyes. It's in the gutters. It's on the streets. They're in people's yards. Okay? Small stores do the scheduling. I just had 2 cans, and I bought it right there and drunk it right there. They told me to schedule. So I can't even trade it in to buy another pot. So, these are type of things we really got to get out there in these communities and experience this stuff that we haven't experienced before, and it will change the way you move. Thank you.
So I just want to close. I just want to close this question. There's just a couple clarification things or just comments. It's true. So one of the things that happens, and you pointed it out, you can show up with your cans and get cash at only a few places. There is a green and blue program. Green bags, you get the cash, it goes to an account, maybe a day later, maybe a couple days later. Blue bags are for charities. Brooklyn Park gets all the money for their park program from a blue bag collection. So there's good things being done. Is there an issue? I mean, I like your point. Yeah, I don't want to pay for the bags. Fair. Most homeless folks don't want to pay for the bags. I get that. Maybe OBRC could afford to donate the bags. There's a lot of solutions that nobody's thinking outside the box. There's just a lot that could be done. The other part of this whole thing, and Kelly has alluded to it, and I didn't bring it up in the question, is there a group of us actually working on a good neighbor agreement? Tom brought it up too. The good neighbor agreement with this situation is a challenge because we can't get anyone to sign it except for Ground Score, who has no power. They have no money. They're being funded. The owner of the property won't sign it. The city's the ones involved in mitigating the space, the area around it. So we've asked our current counselors, will you help us? Silence. Yeah. And I think that, yes, and I believe that
accountability for the situation they created.
Right. Yeah, it's a deep story. If anybody has any extra questions around it, people can contact me. I'll be around, so you guys can. I encourage people to dig into this because it's a big deal and it's a citywide problem. So I don't want to just say, I mean, it's hyper local for us here in Inner East Side, but it's a citywide problem. And yeah, let's kick this off. So we only have about 15 minutes left. We said we'd finish. Yes! And we're going to take questions. And we wanted to say, if you had a specific counselor that you wanted to hear from, you could ask that, or you can make it a general question.
I would love to make it a general question. My name is Melissa Finkel. I am running for Senate District 16. However, I am a long-term Oregonian my whole life, and we do own properties, and we are considered a small business. So my question is, how do you feel about the ESD that is being proposed in District 3? So let me tell you a quick little backstory. It is not taxed to the person who is running the business. It is to the person who owns the building. So if we're talking about people who are trying to stay in the area, who have been born and raised in this area, then we are making that really difficult for them. So in Park Rose, we have joined forces to knock down the ESD. I'm curious how you feel about the District 3 ESD.
What's an ESD?
Enhancement Service District.
Can you define the footprint of the?
So it is, what it is, at least in Park Rose, District 3 has not set out what exactly it's going to look like. But what it is a fee to actual property owners. It is filtered through your water district bill. So it's the person who is responsible for the bill. And it's pretty high. And it'll go for 10 years. It'll raise 4 to 6% every year for 10 years. And it is supposed to fund community cleanup, community lighting, these things that we already have and we can already tap into, but it is going to be connected to probably your division business district. So I'm just curious how you feel about that.
It's like clean and safe downtown.
Okay, now I know the Park Rose one. The Park Rose one, they're talking about a fee for cleaning.
I would just take a position on it. That's how brief it's going to be. I'm against it. That's another form, again, of taxing our small businesses. It's a lovely way to say it. And if you don't understand it, you'll end up voting for it. And if you don't vote for it, somebody that does understand it will. And I'm sure they're not here today with us. And they're not for us. Okay? So I'm against that. Thank you.
It's a sneaky tax, and I don't like sneaky taxes. Pay enough as it is, but I'm against it.
I like him.
Yes, I'm also against it. I understand it's not very popular and it wasn't discussed by the whole community. I do think it sounds like there is a concern about the level of cleanup that's happening in Park Rose, and so what are some other ways we can look at that? I think Prosper Portland could potentially be a partner here, given I believe it's a TIF district. So how do we meet the need without creating another tax on property owners?
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Lisa Finkel.
Lisa Finkel. Respectfully, I'm on the other side of this one.
That's all good.
And I'm very happy to meet you, just mostly because I've only heard from the side that's for it. So I've had a skewed representation of how it's going to be implemented. For me, what I do understand is that it is actually the closest we actually have to localized taxation or fee with representation, because only the businesses that are going to be impacted are being included in voting for or against this. That's at least as far as I understand how it's going to be rolled out. So if there are things for me to learn more about, I'm very happy to talk with you about it.
It's the rate pair. It's the water rate
I'm the first person to be skeptical of stuff like this, but I have had chances to talk with Devin, and I know who to follow up with to make sure I understand who to get a straight answer from. Now that I know what the counter arguments are to it. However, as presented, it's the closest I've seen.
Let him speak.
The closest I've ever seen to something that is going to be paid by people in the localized area that is meant to return to that localized area.
Let me,
Actually, just try to, not everybody has to answer the question. We do want to get to another question. So go for it.
No new taxes, especially when you're backdooring it through the water bill. I mean, if you actually, and I'm just going to say, I read all legislation probably a bit more nerdy than everybody else does. But I don't know why this, to me, it seems like we're trying to charge small business owners to clean up their neighborhoods and increase the police footprint that the council doesn't want to fund. And also, why does every project have to be done by a non-profit that seems to be the one fortunate? I'm an estate planner. I give money to nonprofits all day, every day. But the rules at the federal level for us to get a state tax credit, and then the nonprofits in Portland is like, you guys would never, ever, ever pass muster. And it's one of those where it's like, maybe go to the private sector where you have real accountability, or if we're going to have nonprofits do it, let's open the books. It's like you have to show where your money goes, or I don't get credit for estate taxes. So why is every project going to a nonprofit that we can't look at, and the second we do, they disappear? Like, that's my, you can say what you want about it, come talk to me about it.
On the public record, I want to challenge Matthias, you, me, Devin, we're going to sit down, we're going to get to the bottom of this. How about that?
I will read the statutes with you. And then if we want to go into the public record, let's see who owns the nonprofit. Let's do an actual transparency filing and go up the rung of ownership. It's like, I'm telling you that all of the conversations it's like to me.
One more response, please.
I have just one quick statement, which is a lot of our bills that are being proposed are not equitable for people who read at an 8th grade level. And if we're proposing these things to our citizens, it needs to be something that everyone can understand and not driven somewhere else.
actually, I'd like to move to the next question if that's possible. All right, please be brief.
If they want to do that and have cleanup, why not do it through their business associations?
So, I don't know why we've been having a little trouble with Gang here, but please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. This is a question for you, Kelly. I know you've worked in the city for a long time, and you're currently, I believe, working for Parks. So, my understanding from reading is that Parks doesn't have a budget for maintenance, or not much. So every time we get a new request for a bond, which increases our property taxes, it's always voted in because everybody loves parks, and I love parks, and I go to the swimming pool, and blah, blah, blah. But the question is this: why doesn't Parks have a maintenance budget, and would you do anything about that if you were to be elected in city council? Would you be able to, legally speaking, and what would you do about that so that we're not always asked for more and more taxes to upkeep things and stop all the money being spent strictly for capital projects?
That's a great question. Such a great question.
Got it?
Yeah.
Is it working out? Okay. Yeah. It's a great question. Yeah, there's about, I think they're saying it's about $800 million right now that is the backlog. And yes, the problem is that we keep doing new things and starting new things. And Portland wants to be visionary, and Portland wants a park in their neighborhood. And we keep saying yes. And even in the most current budget, one of the city councilors put on the budget to renovate a picnic shelter that came down, which is a great idea. Like, we all want We all want things that once used to be there to be back. Somebody mentioned the Columbia Pool. That's another one that people want back. So we have been told no new things. I think that's the right answer right now. No new things until that we can come up with maintenance backlog plans. And $800 million is a lot of millions of dollars. And so my work with partnerships, I'm working with like the Nikes and the Columbia Sportswears and the Adidases to offset some of that maintenance backlog with our courts, for instance, our basketball courts. We just did a deal in Laurelhurst Park with an organization where they are renovating the dance studio that was shuttered for 6 years. That was a maintenance backlog issue. They are in that space for $1 a month for 10 years, as long as they commit to renovate the studio for at least $50,000 a year for those 10 years. They've already replaced the floors, they've repainted the buildings, they've changed out the lights and the electrical panels. So these are the types of solutions that I have in mind, and there are bigger thoughts for the many millions that I don't yet have a plan for, but I hope to be thinking on that soon. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So my question is a simple yes or no question to end it off. So this is actually about Prosper Portland. So I observed the I-205 TIF district meetings, and as you also might have heard, Willamette Week has talked about how they have refused to turn over some records and stuff like that in regards to, I believe, risk assessments and stuff like that. I could be wrong about the specifics. So my question is simple. Are you willing to vote no on funding Prosper Portland or like reducing their budget if they do not commit to returning documents and doing more audits and stuff like that, so that they are able to really show their work and how effective it will be? Simple yes or no question.
How about raise your hand if it's yes?
Yes.
Raise for yes.
All right.
So do we have any one last question that's just burning? No? All right. Well, I think we've come to the close, and I want to just thank everybody for coming. We really appreciate you all being here, first and foremost, because we know it's a beautiful Sunday afternoon in the middle of August, so thank you so much. I would task you all with taking some of the stuff that you heard and doing the homework and finding out, what else do I need to know? There's so much, right? We understand that. If you have any questions or anything, follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to any of us in future Portland shirts.
Add one more thing. The election's in November. I know that seems really far away, but it's not. It's like less than 90 days now, right? So these guys need not just money, I know I mentioned that at the beginning, but support. Especially even if you don't live in this district and you can't vote for these guys, but you like what you heard, ask to get on their email lists, see how you can volunteer, talk to your friends and your neighbors, because most people don't pay attention to local politics. I think a lot of you guys probably already know that. So most people don't know what district they live in or who their current city councilors are. So if you like somebody up here today, let them know that you talked to them and maybe they should check them out too. Word of mouth is the best way to get the word out. And the last election, quite frankly, as we went down from president to city council, the numbers dropped off a lot, guys. I know there were a lot of candidates, and I know I just said at the beginning of this, there's a lot of candidates again, but you've got time to do some research. You've met a few folks now, so hopefully you feel educated enough to talk to your friends and neighbors about it. So thank you all for coming out. Sign up for our email list if you're not already on it. We like to do stuff like this all the time to keep you informed. Thank you, candidates.